Hello, I'm Ozzy, and I've just been thinking how much I hate The Last Jedi. But more importantly, if I'm going to be a critic of The Last Jedi, I have to be able to kind of say, well, what could I have done better? And I really thought about this the other day, and I wrote it down a couple of points, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to try and make a better film than The Last Jedi, made by Rian Johnson, who wrote and directed it. I'm going to see what I can improve. Maybe I'm full of it, maybe I don't know, but I'm going to try and do it in the space of an hour because I really think it's a really bad film. Here we go. Let's see how we go. Alright, I've done some screenwriting before. I'm by no means an expert, but I have written feature-length stuff. But let's have a look at where we're left off with in The Force Awakens. So, at the very end of it, Finn is in somewhat of a coma. Rey and Luke, or Rey's handing Luke a lightsaber. So there's a possibility of training or something else that's going to go on there. Leia's back at the Rebel base. The First Order has wiped out, I think, like the control hub, their actual Republic government. So it's kind of in tatters. So the whole place is a bit lost. We don't know where we're going. Kylo Ren has obviously been defeated. He's been left scarred. And that's possibly going to have a result on him and his relationship with Plagueis. Not Plagueis, Snoke, sorry. Who else? Poe. Poe's still flying around doing as he does. So where would I pick up? In The Last Jedi, they've kind of picked up straight from where the other film left off, to the point where Rey's handing over the thing and he throws it over the shoulder. I would do something a little bit differently. I would just fast forward a couple of years. I would say that it's assumed, maybe in the opening crawl, say that Rey and Luke went off and they did train. Luke accepted her. Yeah, you just get the nod of approval, or you can kind of take those leaps and bounds to think that yes, he's surprised to see this new Jedi Force and he wants to train her. He's still, but here's the thing with that, and that's where I can kind of feel sympathy for Rian Johnson, is that J.J. Abrams wrote Luke that he stayed on this island. There's a reason why he stayed there. You can't just skip over and just say, oh, he goes there, she gets him and brings him back. He wants to be in this island for some reason. It's not kind of written out yet, but that's what this film is supposed to do. So in The Last Jedi, they wrote because he kind of lost faith with the Jedi, and that he was going to kill his own nephew because he knew it was going onto the wrong side. So he kind of gave up on everything. He said, I don't want to deal with it, which I think is too much apart from the actual character of Luke Skywalker. So what I would do, I would say that he does train Rey and that he is still and will always be a Jedi. But I would make it so he doesn't want to kill his nephew. I think that's his main motivation, and he knows that he should, but he's already killed his father, which was hard enough. And he doesn't want to kill another family member. He's probably got a lot more fonder memories with someone like Ben Solo. So he can't. He won't do it. He won't commit that crime. But then Rey comes into his life and he kind of sees kind of a proxy way to get through to Ben Solo. He does want to do it himself, but he knows he has to. So that, I would say, that would be his main motivation for staying on the island and his motivation for training Rey. So you'd write that into the novel, but you wouldn't pick up straight on Luke and Rey. You'd go first to the Resistance and the First Order. Now that they're in shambles, I would say that the First Order, I'd probably make them look like they're getting the upper hand in the battle. They're quickly overtaking these Republic planets. They've got a bigger army. They've been sucker punched through the Resistance. They kind of don't know how to deal with it. So you pick up with Finn and Poe and probably Princess Leia, just trying to deal with the outfall of it all. I would have perhaps Finn on a different mission to Poe, with they're on two different planets and they're battling. Finn's on the ground commanding troops. He's obviously risen to a hardened battle warrior, and he's quite effective. He's a bit more serious. But I would also, because you got to have the different kind of plot streams running through all these characters. So what do you do with Finn? What do you do with Poe? Poe, I think he's top level management. He's dealing with the more heavy organizations of where the rebels go and where the resistance goes. I think their main thing is that they've got a main base that they don't want the First Order to find out and wipe them out, and that's why they're dealing all these little battles that they are somewhat losing. But I think in that opening scene, you've got a big battle scene with Finn fighting on one planet, Poe fighting on another, Leia trying to organize it all, and it's somewhat crumbling. They're trying to evacuate people from certain other places. They're trying to save as many people as the First Order gets stronger and stronger. And then you pick up on Luke and Rey training. She's obviously getting a lot better. He's always asking these questions. Who are you? Where are you from? She's always saying, you need to come back with us. We need to go back because I can feel my friends are in trouble, and that's what's happening. Oh, and that's another thing. We'd cut to scenes at the very start where Finn's obviously getting the upper hand, or Poe's doing some crazy X-Wing stuff, and then I'd have either Phasma come in and destroy a whole fleet of them, just show how great Phasma is, or Hux. But Kylo Ren also making a big introduction and just chopping up stuff, just showing how powerful and how big a force he is, and why Leia's kind of pushing for, we need Luke and we need Rey. We need something to counterbalance these huge powers that the First Order has. So that whole first scene is a big battle, and I would say that the First Order wins and the resistance is pushed on its back foot. Yeah, that's another thing. A lot of people thinking of Kylo Ren coming back to the light side. I think when you kill your father in cold blood, I don't think you're coming back, and I don't think he'll ever come back even in the real series. I think it's just too far elite. You can't just kill your dad and then the next one, oh, no, I'm good again. It's all right. I got over that. Like, no, you've gone too far. There's no coming back from that. Even if he does come back for it, you're put in jail for the rest of your life. Like, that's a big no-no. Can't come back from that. What else have I written here? So you got Snoke and Kylo Ren. I think Snoke is still spinning the wheels, but another thing you have to illustrate in this film is where Snoke comes from and how he has effect. Now, there's a line in The Force Awakens where Leia says it wasn't our fault what happened to Ben. Snoke got to him. So you have some way you've got to explain where Luke is talking about his past and how Snoke somehow comes into it and comes into contact with Ben Solo. I think you have almost just this stranger, like this guy who pretends to be a Jedi assistant or something like that, but is actually evil and tries to turn everyone against Luke because he knows Luke's the most powerful. You take out Luke, that's all a clear run, and you steal the best one from him. So I think he's somewhat... And that, you know, that there is going to be a flashback. I see the need for a flashback just because of what JJ's set up in the first film. So yeah, I'd paint Snoke as kind of this mysterious character that intervenes and kind of sucker punches Luke, that gets in the minds of Luke's disciples and kind of pulls the rug from under Luke when he's least expecting it. He thinks the Sith are gone. No, they're very much there. They're just lurking in the shadows. So you'd have Snoke becoming more and more powerful, Kylo Ren and him obviously at odds with each other because Kylo Ren's obviously getting a lot more stronger, and Snoke's probably getting a bit worried about how powerful his apprentice is going. So they're all the plot points I would have going through these things. Also, another thing I think you'd have, and I can see why Rian Johnson did this, with Finn and Poe, how do they grow? I think you have Finn being, I think with Finn, you definitely need to have somewhat of a romantic subplot. That's how his character grows. I think Poe, not really needed. He's too in line with the Resistance and what they stand for. Poe's a bit more wide-eyed. He's just kind of got down this, being mind-boggled for the rest of his life, being brainwashed, and now he's starting to think for himself. And there's possibly going to be some PTSD with Finn. We don't know how harsh it is to be trained like that since birth. I think that's a strong thing. You can elaborate on that and say that he's having some trouble in the next film. Yeah, you have some real beautiful girl that really takes to Finn. She's a medical officer. She's something in the Resistance. Maybe she's for another side that he pulls in. I'd have a bit of a maybe she's from the other side. Maybe she's from the First Order. You just have the plot is that the First Order is encroaching on them. So that's the first act. Rey Luke training, First Order growing, big battles. The battles, obviously, the Resistance just gets away with enough people, but they lost the battle. Rey is at the point where she feels like she's done enough training. Sorry, we're entering in the middle section, and she's saying, "You need to come back." She's got to convince Luke to come back, which is similar in The Last Jedi. But he's saying he can't do it. He needs her to go do it. She's got to get him off the island somehow. And that's where I think you have a surprise battle. That's hard, getting Luke off the island. Because he has to know that there's a big battle going on. So you're going to find something more than that. Okay, I got an idea. He gets off the island when he realizes where Rey comes from and who she stands for. She is a relative of the Kenobis, let's say. So let's say Obi-Wan Kenobi had a brother or a sister that he was dismissed, and somehow that brother hates the Force, hates all that stuff, hates the Jedi Order, wants to get away from Obi-Wan. That's why when he realized that his daughter was Force sensitive, he left her and he said, "I don't want any part because the Jedi ruin everything." So that's possibly the Kenobi connection that Luke eventually finds out about Rey through training, through some kind of analysis of herself, and he sees her in a new light. He sees the teacher that got him out of Tatooine to come out of his shell, and that's what he's got to do again, and he's got to face his fears, he's got to go against. So it's kind of an awakening for him. So I'd have a beautiful scene where he discovers this about Rey. Rey figures it out for herself. She hears this voice. She hears Ben Kenobi. Maybe there's even a Ben Kenobi scene where he talks to the ghost, and she doesn't know who she is, but Ben Kenobi kind of says, you're related to me, which would explain a bunch of other things in The Force Awakens. So with that knowledge, actually, what's Chewie doing in this case? I don't think Chewie's hanging around in the ship for 4 years. I think Chewie's back fighting with whoever. Maybe you have Lando come in this scene, or maybe you have somebody else help piloting. But anyway, Luke and Rey leave at some stage as there needs to be a middle scene here, which I'm not too sure how to go about. You've still got elements of the Knights of Ren hanging around, and maybe you have them on different battles. Maybe Finn is sent on a secret mission to uncover... Poe possibly goes with Finn on this mission, where they discover a whole new base, another weapon, something that's getting built, or a very pivotal base, or Snoke, where Snoke resides. They found out where Snoke resides. They're going to kill and wipe out the top order. They're trying to do it stealthily. They've got rebel ships lying in wait, and they've sent out the message to Rey, and she's on her way there. So that's possibly the middle structure, mainly around Finn, figuring out where to go. It's on this special place where Snoke lives. They can get rid of Snoke. They can help crumble the First Order. Now, I think you have to have another twist there. And I'd have somewhat of a Return of the Jedi twist where what they didn't actually figure out Snoke, it was all a trap to get them there, and then they snared the Resistance in their grasp, and they're starting to just kill a lot of the Resistance. And I think a big character that gets killed is possibly Leia by Kylo Ren or Phasma. And I think that's something else that wakes Luke up, and he says, something's wrong. I've lost my sister. If I stay here, they're all going to die. I need to do something. Kylo Ren's just going nuts. Okay, so I think you've got a couple of motivators there to get Luke out. He's still staying in that character line. I have this big battle in the final act that's all happening, where Leia's been killed, Finn's been overrun, Poe's trying to organise this big counterattack, but once again, Kylo Ren and all these people are chopping up things, and then you have this momentous introduction where Luke comes in on his X-Wing with Rey and BB-8 and C3 and R2D2, and it's kind of a big thing where Poe's flying and shooting all these ships himself, but then Luke comes in and basically does a better job than him and just cuts through everyone, and everyone's like, who is that? And it's Luke. Now, as soon as Luke comes onto the scene, Kylo Ren goes nuts, and he says, target Luke. He goes nuts for killing Luke Skywalker, and that's where the Resistance is able to take advantage of this kind of sidetracked mind of Kylo Ren and start attacking and start getting the battle into their corner as well. So eventually Luke gets shot down, then he pops out, he's with his lightsaber, he's carving up a whole bunch of stuff. Same with Rey's chopping up. You've got Kylo Ren, and then you've got these two Jedi just chopping through everything, heading towards the main arena where Snoke is with Kylo Ren. And then I think you just keep that battle going. Maybe there's got to be some kind of switch where they've got to flick this force field switch which will protect the Resistance, but they've got to get there by this way and this way. That's Finn's job. Poe's in the sky. Maybe Poe gets shot down. He's on his feet. He's got to find a way to survive himself. And then you've got the Millennium Falcon just flying around. Maybe he's trying to get to the Millennium Falcons that's been caught. You've got a couple of ideas you could play around with there in that final stage. But I think the main thing, what it focuses around is, or maybe Leia's been captured, not killed. And Leia's been captured. They're trying to get her back. Finn's on the ground trying to get her back. No, Finn's trying to get the shields down or some shit. Poe's trying to rescue Leia. He's trying to get Leia out of there. Now, as Rey and Luke fight their way into Snoke's chamber, where Kylo Ren chases after them, and then on the other two ends you've got Hux trying to prevent Poe getting this, and Phasma trying to prevent Finn chopping in the laser. Anyway, huge battle happening. It's all going on. They get into Snoke's chamber, and then there's obviously a dialogue about Kylo Ren's a bit pissed off at Snoke, and I think you've got to have a dialogue somewhere in the middle there where Snoke and Kylo Ren are angry at each other. He calls him, you defeated by a girl, you couldn't do this. So you got some of the same elements of The Last Jedi, obviously without the shitty humour and the mistreatment of characters. So in the end, it results in a four-way Jedi battle, basically. You've got Kylo Ren fighting against Luke, Rey, and I would say Snoke. I would say Snoke and Kylo Ren are at odds. They want to kill each other because Kylo Ren is so much more powerful. I'm not sure where that last bit carried off, but anyway, there's a big fight. They go into Snoke's chamber. There's a four-way battle there where Kylo Ren is fighting Snoke first, and then Rey and Luke come in, and so he's fighting three people. Snoke is also fighting three people. He's fighting Kylo, Luke and Rey. Luke and Rey both themselves. Luke and Rey, on the other hand, are just fighting Snoke and Kylo Ren. So it's a crazy battle where it can go off in four different directions. I think that's something new. You haven't seen a lightsaber battle like that. Usually it's kind of one-on-one or two-on-one. This one is kind of going off in all directions except for two of them. And I would have, here you can have a couple of interesting things happen. Someone's going to die. So I think Luke is about to kill Kylo Ren at some stage, but he can't. He hesitates, and then Kylo Ren ends up killing Luke. I think that's a big, shocking ending as well. Stabs him through the chest, probably similar to how Qui-Gon Jinn dies. And this is at a point where Rey injures Snoke. Snoke gets injured again, even though he's been injured a fair bit by the looks of it. I don't know if he's using his own lightsaber or his dark side powers or whatever Snoke's doing, but Snoke gets somewhat injured and incapacitated, almost to the point of death. But Kylo Ren kills Luke and then makes Rey, hits him off and goes a bit nuts a little bit herself, but Kylo Ren's obviously super strong at this stage. This is where you kind of say, Rey's good, but Rey's no Skywalker at the end of it. And so she carries off Luke while she can, and she talks to him, she gets on a ship and she flies away. Same with Snoke, because Kylo Ren has already asserted himself as the more powerful. So I would have Snoke, somewhat of a slimier character this time round, who was able to take advantage of the Force and get the upper hand on Ben Solo early on, but he is not as formidable as Kylo Ren at full power. So big battle, Snoke almost killed, but gets away. Luke dead, Rey just gets away herself. Kylo Ren takes control, and I would have, they all get away. Millennium Falcon possibly helps get Rey out of there. The shield's down. Princess Leia's carried off. So they're all managed to just get away whilst doing a little bit of a big battle against and blowing up certain parts of the main base of the First Order. But that's where I would finish the film. And so it's somewhat similar to Empire Strikes Back. There are elements of The Last Jedi in there, but I think throughout that you've got some great Force stuff there. You've got some big battles you can have. You can have that big battle at the start, big battle at the end, and you can have the mini battle, kind of the stealth operation throughout in the middle. Obviously a huge Jedi fight scene in the end, which is kind of unique. You haven't seen something like that. I think everyone's got their own character arc. I think you've got Finn meeting this girl on this stealth mission. You've got Poe. Poe's probably not growing a whole lot, but he is becoming more of a leader, more of the leader of the Resistance, right down from where I suppose that's where he takes more power, is that he has to basically become the general once Leia's gone. He has to step up to that position. So there is somewhat of an arc there, probably not as big as Rey and Luke's on the other hand, who I think Rey kind of realizes that she's very strong with the Force, but she's not as strong as Kylo Ren in the final stage, and that's where it's a bit of a worry. And I think you'd have one of the last lines in the film, I cannot kill him, he's too strong. This is what Rey's saying about Kylo, but I may be able to turn him, or something like that. You know, that's kind of what will get you thinking about the next film. Will he turn? Will she not? How is she going to defeat Kylo Ren? He's just too powerful. And I would have several more factions, and that it's waking up more of the galaxy, and more people are coming in to fight about it. Okay, that's as quick as I can do. I think I covered most of the main points there. But yeah, that's how I reckon will probably work out to be a better film than The Last Jedi, and that's just an hour of thinking of something and writing them down. I don't know, what do you think? Do you think that's an interesting plot there? Do you think I'm treating the characters well? This is very vague and very kind of much an overview, but I don't know. I think that would be a lot better than what we got with The Last Jedi. At the same time, doing this helps you kind of realize why Rian Johnson made some of the choices he did. But they were all just wrong, bad choices. That really wasn't Star Wars in the end. Anyway, tell me what you think, and yeah, thanks.